Hello, welcome to the Nifty Fingers YouTube channel. Today we're going to learn the Fairy Fountain theme from Legend of Zelda. For this particular song, you'll find a tab down in the description. I would highly recommend following that as closely as possible, if not verbatim. It will save you a lot of trouble and hassle and finger strain. Alright, so this is the tutorial section of the video. A few things to note beforehand. This is a classical style of guitar playing, so it's easiest to pick with your... use your fingers to pick instead of using a guitar pick. You want to use your left hand fingerings. You want to be very aware of where your fingers are supposed to be. You want to be aware of where your bars are supposed to be. You want to be aware of your chord shapes, and you want to be aware of like dynamics and stuff like that too, like playing. You want to be aware of volume and stuff like that. All makes a difference. So the way we'll do the tutorial, I'll try to focus on chord shapes, and then which frets we play from those. So the first measure is going to sound like this. Alright, to play that, the chord shape is going to be, you're going to put your fourth finger on the 5th fret of the high E string, and you're going to bar the top 3 strings, and you're going to put your 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string. You're going to play this pattern. A, M, I, P. Alright, so the frets for that are going to be starting on the 5 on the high E string. 5, down a string to 3, down a string to 3, down a string to 5. Your next chord shape, you just hold everything, just lift your pinky off. And then you're going to play 3 on the high E string, down a string to 3, down a string to 3, down a string to 5. Alright, this next chord shape is going to be, it's going to look like this here. It's kind of like an A minor shape, except up a fret, and then take everything, move it up, shift everything up a string. So, and for this, you're going to play 2 on the high E string, down a string to 3, down a string to 3, and then open. And then this next one, you're just going to put your pinky on the 3rd fret of the high E string, and just forget about your first finger. And then you're going to play 3 on the high E string, down a string to 3, down a string to 3, and then open. And again, the first measure sounds like this. Alright, so now the next measure is going to, your chord is going to sound like this. So that first chord shape there is going to be just like a regular F chord with your 3rd finger up on the G note there, on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. So you're going to play 3 on the high E string, then down a string to 1, down a string to 2, down a string to 3. Then for the next beat, you're going to lift your pinky off, and then you're going to play 1 on the high E string, down a string to 1, down a string to 2, and then down a string to 3. In this next chord shape, you're going to take your first finger, lift it off, then put it back down on the first fret of the B string. You're going to play 0 on the high E string, down a string to 1, down a string to 2, down a string to 3. Then you're going to put that bar back on with your first finger on the top 2 strings. Now we're going to play 1 on the high E string, down a string to 1, down a string to 2, down a string to 3. The second bar again, a second measure again sounds like this. Okay, so now on to the third measure. That one's going to sound like this if I can do it correctly. Okay, so this first chord shape you've got here looks like this. It doesn't really resemble anything. So what you've got is a bar, first of all, on the first top 5 strings. Then you've got, you put your second finger on the 6th fret of the B string. You put your 4th finger on the 8th fret of the D string. And you put your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the A string. Alright, so then what we're going to play is 6 on the B string, down 2 strings to 8, then 5, then down a string to 7. Now for this next beat, we're going to lift our middle finger off, and we're going to play 5 on the B string, down 2 strings to 8, then 5, then down a string to 7. Then this next chord shape looks like this. It's doesn't really resemble anything, so it's 8 on the, take your 4th finger G string 8th fret, then take your 3rd finger 8th fret D string, your 2nd finger on the 7th fret of the A string, and keep that bar going. So what we're going to play is 8 on the G string, then down a string to 8, then 5, then down a string to 7. Then you're going to slide your pinky up to 9, hit 9 on the G string, down a string to 8, then 5, then down a string to 7. And again the second measure, or third measure, sorry. And one other thing is crucial, that you end this measure off with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the A string. That's a very important fingering. Alright, so now we move on to the 4th measure for time. Okay, so you're going to put your, keep the bar going, put your 2nd finger on the 7th fret of the D string, then your 3rd finger on the 8th fret of the A string. You're going to play 5 on the high B string, skip down 2 strings to 7, down a string to 8, then 5. Then move your 2nd finger up to the 7th fret of the G string. You're going to play 7, down a string to 7, down a string to 8, then 5. Then slide your 2nd finger down to the 6th fret. Play 6 on the G string, down a string to 7, down a string to 8, then 5. Then slide your 2nd finger back up to 7 on the G string. Play 7, down a string to 7, down a string to 8, and 5. Okay, so then that's the first half. And, okay, so the 5th measure is utterly identical to the first measure. So, just to recap, it just sounds like this. Okay, so now when we end off this measure, we end up kind of with our third and fourth fingers on the third fret here. What you want to do is you want to slide. This is where you can kind of. It sounds nice if you slide up to the sixth fret here. So, so you take your fourth finger, slide up to 6, and you make this kind of diminished sounding chord. The chord shape is a bar with the top 4 strings on the 4th fret. So then you got to put your pinky on the 6th fret of the E string, and your second finger on the 5th fret of the G string. And you're going to play, this is what it's going to sound like. So you're going to play 6 on the high E string, down a string to 4, down a string to 5, down a string to 4. Then take your pinky off and put your third finger down on the 5th fret on the high E string. Play 5, down a string to 4, down a string to 5, and down a string to 4. Then lift your third finger off altogether. Play 4 on the high E string, down a string to 4, down a string to 5, and down a string to 4. Then put your third finger back onto the 5th fret, and you play 5, 5th fret on the high E string, then down a string to 4, down a string to 5, and down a string to 4. And now again, to get into this next measure, you want to slide your pinky up to the 8th fret. And the chord shape is going to kind of look like this. It doesn't really resemble anything. Well, it kind of resembles this F chord down here. It's just all the way up here, and you don't use that the B string at all. So you got your 8th. You got a bar here on the first top 4 strings, and you're going to put your pinky on the 8th fret of the high E string, your second finger on the 7th fret of the G string, and your third finger on the 8th fret of the D string. It's going to sound like this. Alright, so to play that, you play 8 on the high E string, down 2 strings to 7, down a string to 8, and 5. And now you're going to take your second finger, put it on holding the bar, you're going to take your second finger, put it on the 6th fret of the E string. Then you're going to take your third finger, put it on the 7th fret of the G string, and your pinky on the 8th fret of the D string. You're going to play 6 on the high E string, down 2 strings to 7, down a string to 8, and 5. Then the next beat, you just lift your middle finger off the 6th fret and just play everything else the same. And then for the next measure, you put your middle finger back on and play everything the same. So again, that all sounds like. Okay, and now the last measure. It's a very short piece, but you can repeat it as much as you want. You still got your bar going from the last measure. The top 4 strings. So for this first shape, it's kind of you got that bar going. You take your second finger, put it on the 7th fret of the A string. Your third finger on the 8th fret of the D string. This is what it sounds like. Okay, and also watch out for the fingerings on this too, because those are crucial for keeping the flow. So you've got 5th fret on the high E string. Then you go down 3 strings to 8, then 5, then down a string to 7, then up to the B string at 8 with your pinky, and then down 2 strings to 8 with your third finger, then 5, then hit 7 down a string with your third finger again. And then now you want to put your second finger on the 6th fret of the B string, then down 2 strings with your pinky on the 8th fret of the D string, then 5, down a string to 7. Now this next beat is the same as that last beat there. You go 5 on the B string, down 2 strings to 8, then 5, then 7. And that covers the entire tablature.